Oh, we're live. I just realized we are live on this one. So, and we're live. I'm Anthony Irwin. That is Harrison Fagan. This is the Lakers Lounge. We have a lot to get to. Harrison's camera is frozen, so that made me a little nervous there. You're back. Good to see. I am back from Vegas, and we can finally record. I brought my mic. I had everything ready to record while I was there in Vegas. But because of where my room was at the Virgin, it was like right by the pool club, like the pool dance party. Apparently, is what it sounded like, and it was just like a constant. Doom, 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 doom,
Oh man, you really are getting old. You're complaining about the young people listening to music in Vegas. It's too loud
well,
for you.
all I ask is that like you change up the beat once. It's just doom, 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 doom. Let the beat drop. Doom, 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 doom. It's just
Now you're complaining about the young people's music that they choose to listen to.
when you listen to 36 straight hours of doom, 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 doom. Yeah. I'm telling you, if I ever hear EDM music or any of that other stuff ever again, it'll be way too soon. So, yeah, apologies for not recording. It was because DJ Avicii, whatever, was just going nuts in my
DJ Avicii, whatever. Yeah, I think that's what they list him as on Apple Music is DJ Avicii, whatever.
It was just nonstop crap. So yeah, I was not able to record. My apologies for not doing so.
Anthony moved to Texas and he's calling anything with a beat crap now.
Look, that is
young
shit
people
music.
crap. There's not even a fiddle in it.
That music is really bad. It is truly horrendous music. It is just not good. Nobody actually likes it, right? Everybody's so drugged up that they can't tell the difference.
I am not the right person to ask that question.
So answer it, coward.
No, I mean, like, I don't do drugs or go to concerts. So, like, that's what I mean. Like, I don't, I'm the wrong target audience.
Just listen. For those who do like
The
that
only
music,
concert I
listen
wanted
to
to
it
go to
sober
this year
once.
Was the Taylor Swift Eras tour, and my wife ditched me, so she went with her friends instead.
All right. So yeah, apologies. Like I said, that I did not record while I was there in Vegas. It was either the music was playing in the background or I was out and about, and it was just really impossible to hammer down any time to record. It was also in the middle of the weekend, and yeah, I just didn't figure that the juice was worth the squeeze. But
it's amazing how every year that Anthony goes to Vegas, there's something that goes wrong that allows him to not record as much as he normally would. It's kind of crazy how there's different things each year.
I mean, it's a different thing each year, but then it's also Vegas.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, you tell me how many people, I mean, I guess most people who go there for this trip actually work, but like, it is. But
you realize who you're talking to, and you
I was
start calculating
like,
in real time. You're like, well, shit, this is the wrong person to make this.
But it was fun. We are going to talk about Vegas, and we are going to talk about some of the basketball that I watched there in Vegas. We are going to talk about some of the stuff on the peripheries of the basketball that I watched there in Vegas. I've a couple really fun stories from my time there in Vegas that I really I'm going to be probably retelling here for quite some time. And we'll get to all of that. Oh, yeah. I also have to bug Harrison about Max Christie because I am all the way in on this kid. I am so freaking in.
This is the first time Anthony's ever watched Summer League and been in on a prospect for the Lakers instead of just immediately being out on them after one game.
I wouldn't go so far as to say I was out on them or whatever, but this is about as high on a prospect as I have been. Like, and that's saying something.
It's because he played. Longtime listeners know that it's because he played in Summer League the second year. That is, the key to greatness. And Max Christie listened to Anthony, and he unlocked it. He decided he was not too good for Summer League.
And look at that. He's already going to be a Hall of Famer.
Oh, and ironically, he may have proved that he's too good for Summer League.
Well, and then he kept playing.
Yeah.
So like again, I'm all in on. I do actually think like there's value in that, in like showcasing that like competitive nature and stuff. Like we saw that with Josh Hart, and what it like Josh Hart has turned into a like legit winner. He's probably Tom Thibodeau's favorite person on the planet right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll talk about that. But Harrison, you said you had some breaking news.
Yeah, I do. So I actually, hold on. Let me put on my investigative journalism hat here really quick, just to be ready. But yeah, my sources are telling me that LeBron James, he is a multi-time All-Star. I think 19 times, 20 times, 19-time All-Star. You know, 5-time MVP, 5-time champion. No, 4-time champion. Yeah, 4-time champion. Is returning for his 21st season, according to league sources. Tell.
Wow.
SB Nation / Silver Screen and Roll. Yeah, LeBron is coming back. My source is Rich Paul on Sirius XM Radio. Said that LeBron texted him 2 weeks after the season ended and said, "I'm motivated to come back for my 21st season." So glad we got that. We did that whole news cycle and everything. But LeBron, Anthony, I know this is going to shock you. He's going to play next year. He's not retiring just out of the blue with no farewell tour, no Nike promotional campaign, nothing. He's not just hanging him up and going to go do his La Diners, La Drive-Ins, and La Dives show,
I thought for sure, having watched him coach, that was him prepping for his next career.
Could you imagine LeBron as an NBA coach, just like doing that on the side? Like he would never do it, obviously. It's not a lucrative enough position, but for his time. But LeBron in a let's say they bring back the coaches, coaches have to wear suits. LeBron in a full suit, just like jumping around the gym, like exactly like he does as a player, disagreeing with the call, but with less control, would be, just iconic NBA coaching. And then he'd retire after like 10 games. He'd definitely do the Magic. There's no way that he would stick around.
I think he'd be better at it than Magic.
Yeah.
But I also think he would be so sick of it within preseason. The end of preseason, he'd be like, "This is dumb. This is just."
He gets tired of his teams already, during the season, and this time he can't just like play better as an FU to them and get them out of it. It's just like, well, all right.
Do you think he'd wear his uniform under his like suit and all that
sub
stuff?
Himself in? Can I sub?
Just go full on like just straight like superhero, right? You see it in, I think like every single, basically like Spider-Man did it, right? Superman did it. They all had that like that spread of the person like ripping apart their shirt here and getting ready to go to the rescue. Yeah, that'd be LeBron.
LeBron's got his Laker jersey on under like the Armani suit, just like pulling it apart.
But like complete with accessories too.
Yeah.
Like he still has all the padding and all that.
Yeah, he's got the shooting sleeve on, underneath it.
Yeah, I can't see. I think it was actually probably a problem for Magic. Magic like can't relate to people who are not Magic Johnson.
I think that's true for most stars. I think that's why stars are often not very good coaches, is because they're like, well, why can't you just work and be one of the best 5 players to ever play?
Yeah, and I it's why Kobe never had any interest in coaching. It's why Michael is a terrible owner.
He coached his. I think it's different to coach youth levels and stuff like
that. Yeah. Well, I mean, there it's just you're
just trying to help kids get better. It's different.
Yeah, and also like the kids are always going to be looking up to you. Whereas like in the NBA, when you're coaching like a Ja Morant who's already made $300 million, like, hey, Jock, go run lines. No. Okay. Jock, get off of IG Live. No. Well, all right. So yeah, I'm really fascinated what LeBron is actually going to do whenever he does, because he's clearly loves.
He's already decided.
Yeah, well, I know, but he's still going to want to be more in the spotlight than your average owner too, right? So like he's everybody's favorite only child. Like he always has to be the center of attention.
Sabrina and I always say, only child syndrome.
Yeah. It's just he has to be the focus in some way, shape, or form, and I'm really curious how he's going to do that whenever he is no longer the face of an entire league. from a
Well,
player
some
perspective.
owners are more public facing than others. I mean, Mark Cuban has a TV show that he does, so LeBron will probably just keep doing uninterrupted, that
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah. All right. You want to get into Summer League?
Yeah, sure.
Well, all right. Did you ever buy? I mean, I know the answer, but like the whole retirement thing.
No.
Did you ever think it
Not
was
for a
at all
second.
real?
No. I'm sorry, LeBron is not retiring without doing a farewell tour that all of these greats get, when everybody knows it's their final season. Like, LeBron wants teams to give him a rocking chair and, have the pregame moment where he, gets to sign a picture with all the old guys that he played against that the team brought back, just for his sort of like final game at, at the Golden One Center or at, all these various places. And all the marketing that comes from that and whatever. Like, LeBron was never going to just walk off into the sunset like Tim Duncan.
I can't think of two great players who are more antithetical to each other.
That's what I mean. Like, LeBron was not ever going to just be like, yeah, I'm tired of playing. And, he spent the last 2 years telling us that he wants to play with his son.
Do you think
Nonstop.
though, like, do you think he ever felt like he might consider retirement? Like, I want to know, like, to what extent, because otherwise, if not, everything he does has some kind of ulterior motive. So, like, unless you think, like, for a second, which is possible, right? He had just been swept out of the Western Conference Finals. He had just lost a game that he played 47 minutes and 33 seconds in. He may have just been exhausted and all of that stuff, but if not that, then what do you think was going on there?
I don't think that it was so calculated for him for it to just be about, I don't want people talking about that I just got swept, and I want them talking about how, I had such a great career and we have to appreciate me while we still have me. There's not that many years left. I don't think it was solely about that. I think that, it's something that that Darius has often said, Darius Soriano has often said, it's like, when you start talking about it, it means you're at least thinking about it, and it means the end is closer than the beginning. And so I'm sure that LeBron has thought about it, and he's reaching the end of his, extremely long, unprecedented basketball mortality. It's still going to come to an end at some point. But I don't know. I just never bought that he was actually, maybe in the moment he actually felt like, I am so annoyed with having to carry this team at age 39 and, having to play 47 minutes that I'm going to retire because I'm just pissed about this. But LeBron does this every year where, he, by the end of the season, he's like, I am so tired. I need a playmaker. I need all this stuff. I need whatever. Gets the front office to go out and do it. And then by the time the season comes around again, he's like, this is great. I love all these teammates. So we have a chance to win this year. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling healthy. Whatever. I think he is to some degree a creature of the moment a little bit, where he does feel these things. And when you've played as many basketball minutes as he had, you're going to feel your best when the season is not quite there yet, and you're going to feel your worst when the season is coming to an end in terms of physical health. And so I think that as much as anything, it was probably just frustration from coming up just short in what was such a miraculous kind of season turnaround. Or not just short, they did get swept, but you know what I mean, like coming to the doorstep of making the other finals and having
and if they make that finals, they beat Miami.
Yeah,
like I think
100%.
They lost. They yes, they got swept, but they got swept by a total of 24 points to the team that eventually ran right through Miami.
Yeah,
so
no, they would have beaten Miami. I mean, Denver was the better team. I'm not calling their win a fluke or whatever.
Oh, absolutely.
Like they clearly showed they were the better team, even if it was that series was probably closer than most sweeps. But Denver would have won that series, 99 out of 100 times, I think, if you replayed it. And so, just given what they showed us, and to be honest, I underestimated them, and maybe the Lakers did too. But, bringing it back to sort of the LeBron thing, I think as much as anything, it's just like, how could you not be tired after all that and sort of fed up with it and thinking about, I've made a lot of money. I really don't need to play basketball. I could go and, work on my documentaries, work on my entertainment projects, just, shoot commercials. I could go hang out, go to every single one of Bronny's games, go to all Bryce's games, take Zuri places, at that point, when you're that worn down and you've been playing on one foot for basically 3 months, just out of sheer will and trying to will your team to a title and give them a chance after they reloaded at midseason. But yeah, I mean, I think that it was as much frustration as anything. I don't know. Did you ever buy it?
Oh, fuck no.
Yeah.
No, for all the reasons that you're talking about, I really think the biggest thing there was like, he said it, and it was funny to see it come on the heels of like Giannis's response to losing, right?
Yeah.
When Giannis was asked about that whole thing, and he's talking about how that wasn't a failure, failure. I think the messaging, I think he kind of stumbled over his words a little bit there. Giannis did. Like, failure is temporary, right? Because it's all about how you respond to failure that really defines whether or not that thing was a failure. But like, losing there in the way that they did was a failure, and now it's just a matter of like how they're going to respond to it. And it was funny to see LeBron be like, no, I'm not happy about making the Western Conference Finals. And, the first thing that came to my mind after kind of like laughing at like, oh, this guy's, he knows how to control the narrative, right?
Yeah.
He's very, very good at understanding what he can say that is going to like either bring focus to something that he wants it or move the focus onto something else. But I also like my immediate takeaway to it was like, yeah, it's cool that like role players got me here, but we did get swept, and it was funny. One of the things from being in Vegas over the weekend and there is no greater group of gossipers than NBA media when we get around each other. It is just, but like one of the main topics there in talking to people from either various beats or like people, in league circles and stuff was like, yeah, LeBron's still looking at Kyrie. Like he's still kind of like, that's interesting. And as you've pointed out, and as Bill Simmons pointed out, right, Rui and D'Angelo Russell's contract add up to the amount that it takes to bring Kyrie over here.
And, not to channel my inner Windhorse, D'Angelo Russell waived his implicit no trade clause for this season. So
yeah. So it's just a lot, like it's those, Sedano, who I also got to bump into out there in Vegas. I love that whole thing. Like you just like walk around and just bump into like some of your favorite people on the planet. But like, his thing is like LeBron doesn't drop breadcrumbs so much as he'll just leave loaves of bread all over the place.
Yeah.
And I thought I don't think it's just the one thing. I think what you're talking about is absolute, dude. I was exhausted after this season.
Same.
It was a sprint for like 2 straight months that the Lakers had to go through to put themselves in the situation that they did. And then all that you get out of getting into that situation is getting unceremoniously swept by the eventual champion and the best player in the league right now. So, who plays at the position of the guy that you brought in to take over the league and to hand over the team to, and who now apparently wants to play a different position after getting beaten.
Well, I was going to say, Anthony Davis is not a center, Anthony. This is fake news. The Lakers signed Jackson Hayes so that, because he is in the mold of a Dwight Howard or JaVale McGee.
Yeah. So
these are things that were said by the Lakers general manager.
I'm happy I was at the game and I couldn't hear that live because I don't think I would have
those quotes just because I knew it would make you mad.
And what happened afterward? I quote tweeted it and then I DM'd you afterwards.
Yeah.
What the fuck? So yeah, I the whole like retirement thing was super interesting because like it was another example of LeBron understanding how the media is going to react to stuff that he says in a way that like is productive for him. And I also think like it was kind of another step along this path of, yeah, we'll see how these cute little role players work for you. We'll see. Yeah, but also that guy's over there and I won a championship with him.
And
so I don't think that's
what has LeBron done for the last 2 years, or so. He's continued to kind of put his foot on the pedal of, hey, you guys gotta, like, I'm going to do what I can to sort of leverage you guys into making sure that you don't cheap out on various things, and that you are, trying to find every single avenue to upgrade the supporting cast that I have around me. For a year and a half, it was, or I guess I should say a year. It wasn't. He didn't try to move Russ before training camp, but for a year or so, it was, you got to get this guy out of here. It doesn't matter what it costs. You got to get me more help. You got to trade, for whatever. And then they sort of made those midseason changes. He came back from the injury, but I think this was also about, continuing to put the pedal to the floor.
Yeah. I don't think it's going anywhere. And, the only way that I think we kind of avoid it is if the Lakers play really, really well at the very first part of the season, to where, like, why would you mess with something that's
He's like, shit. How am I supposed to get Kyrie if you guys are... D'Lo, you're hitting 50% of your threes?
He's gonna put a hand up.
Kyrie's showing up to watch games. It's like, wait, isn't this a Mavs game night? Why is he here?
He's peddling
daring to be different to lead us into tomorrow. That's what he does, Anthony.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about Vegas and about a member. I think of that.
Bad passes to Jackson Hayes off his knees. He's like, catch it.
No, I mean, if you want to make sure that Jackson Hayes doesn't catch something, you throw it at his hands. Like,
fair. Yeah.
but yeah,
like Cam Reddish is balling out. What the hell? I don't.
That was a funny report to get, is how excited people within the Lakers organization are for Cam Reddish.
I mean, it makes sense. It's the old, like, Doc Rivers thing where he played really well against the Darvin Ham team in the playoffs one year. Yeah. And then he also has been with Chris Gent, who is their lead assistant in Atlanta. Yeah. And those guys that come from player development background are always going to get excited about toolsy guys like Cam Reddish. They're like, well, I can get the best out of him. It didn't work for those people, but it can work for us,
Yeah.
And look, if there was ever a player development environment that existed to get Cam Reddish to be an effective NBA basketball player, it's with Phil Handy and Chris Gent.
Well, also with LeBron watching over too.
Yeah.
Like a member of his own, the member of his own agency.
Where it's like, hey, dude, you're on the doorstep of being out of the league. You didn't get the qualifying offer after you were like a number one prospect in your high school draft class.
Yeah. And like you played fairly well in Portland, and even they were like,
Yeah, it sounds like that was mostly like a financial, like, we just don't think anyone's going to give him $7.8 million or whatever, and we're just like, we have other wings and guards and whatever that we're trying to develop.
The Cam Reddish thing is a little extra interesting, though, because at kind of his position, you had a guy like Christie, dude, that I am so effing excited about. I am so effing excited to watch this guy develop. It was funny because the thing with Christie is, well, are you really comfortable relying on a 20-year-old in meaningful moments for a team that is going to have the expectations that, not just like on the outside looking in, but clearly with LeBron, is LeBron going to trust a 20-year-old, and all of that stuff? Who isn't Talen Horton-Tucker? And I
don't even know if LeBron trusted him that much by the, for most of that. It was kind of, like, hey, when he was balling out, this is great. But then, pretty quickly went by the wayside, I think.
I from what I've kind of heard, if he had to choose between one or the other, he went with the guy who's in his agency and pushed to bring back Talen instead of Caruso. But
no doubt. Yeah, no, that was I'm not saying that wasn't a LeBron call necessarily, but
but he's like, if he had a vote, And then so I think I do think, though, that I think Christie is going to be up for the challenge. I'm so like, he is.
Look, if
it's not just
I would. This is not the same as trusting him to, be on an NBA floor as one of the best basketball players of all time. But, Max Christie seems so steady and like he has a good head on his shoulders. I would let him drive my car. That's the highest endorsement of trust that I think I can give.
Are you still driving the Infinity?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a nice enough car. It's a little more dinged up because my wife's not that great of a driver. But it's I would honestly, I'd probably trust Max Christie to drive the car more than her. And how many 20-year-olds would you be like, hey, I'd just give him the car keys? I've never seen him drive, but he just seems, like he's got a good head on his shoulders, like he's about the right things, like he's relatively responsible. It's hard to tell these things, but every single press conference he gives off like, just solid vibes. And then he's out here like he's clearly worked on his game. He's
his body
not doing necessarily the summer league thing where it's like, I'm just going to come out here and jack shots because I'm in my second year type of thing. Like, it looks like there is sort of very much a program in place of, we are going to put you on the ball some, but we're also, the Lakers have said, we're challenging you to be the best defensive player on the floor. I think he's certainly taken that to heart, and he's trying to develop skills, it seems like, that will, allow him to actually translate at the NBA level.
Yeah, God, man, every single person that I spoke to, I'm not kidding, Harrison. We went to this, the NBA put together this like big like shindig, this little party for NBA media there.
Oh, it wasn't the NBA. Oh, I thought you were going to talk about NBA Con, which is a funny way to describe. It's a funny name when after hearing about what you actually got for $70 admission.
Yeah,
they announced what they were doing in the name of the thing. I'm just,
Yeah, it was really interesting that the league was like, all right, you know what we need to do? Fire Fest.
Yeah. Although Jared Vanderbilt signed a baby at it, so I'm glad it happened. It's just like the fact that we
just saw that clip.
The fact that we have video of Vando signing a baby, NBA Con was worth it. Okay, I'm just it was worth it for that family. They'll always have that video of Vando confusedly signing their baby.
Yeah. I think it was Sunday night, and it was unfortunate timing because I had a flight early Monday morning. But Sunday night, they put together this like super nice, like I felt way out of place, super nice party for NBA media. And
they let you in? Were you someone's plus one?
Like I said, no, I actually, ironically, for the first time, Aaron was my like plus one. I signed up with Aaron as a guest, and then
all right. Well, we know who has more pull with the media. Then it's you.
And then
Aaron, hot seat.
And then Aaron plus two'd my plus one. I love Aaron. I think they got in too. I think everybody got in.
Aaron.
It was funny though because you're walking in, and again, I'm dealing with like crazy imposter syndrome. I'm in this like line to get into this thing, and everywhere that I look, or people that I look up to in the industry. In Jovan's case, like literally, Jovan is so tall.
Yeah, I don't know why Jovan's writing. He should have. He should have been hooping. He's tall as hell.
So, but I'm in line, and so you get to the very front of the line, and Warren Legary is the one who like put this through this whole thing together, and he's there like standing at the top of the stairs that you walk down to get to this super cool area that the party was at, and he goes like, your name, and he was just messing with us, I think, but I go, Anthony Irwin, I was on the list, and he goes, who are you with? And I was like, Blue Wire. He's like, what the fuck is a Blue Wire? I was like, he's like, I'm just kidding, man. Have a great time. And I'm like, okay. so like you walk down these stairs, and you get to the foot of the stairs, and you get to the doorway that you're walking in through before you go down this hallway that's all like, decorated in LVSL stuff and pictures of players and stuff, and some girl hands you a glass of wine was it
pictures of just like players playing in the NBA, or was it pictures of like summer league legends? Like did they have like Anthony Randolph? It
was like everything was really black and white, so like it was kind of hard to tell. Like it was just you could kind of tell what they were going for. Also, I was like in such a stupor that like it's hard for me to really remember.
Like, why is there a poster of Svi Mikhailuk over there? That's
right. Well, if they had pictures of players, it was like great players who at one point played in summer league. So
it wasn't like
great
guys who
summer
just,
league performances
in summer league.
It wasn't like the year Josh Hart won summer league MVP. Like
yeah.
And then you walk down this hall after you're handed a glass of wine, and you get to the entrance of this thing. And the Jabberwockies, I think, are like sitting there dancing on this dance floor for everybody. And behind them is like this waterfall with Summer League written on it. Somehow you can write Summer League on falls now. There are two bars on either side of you. And then there's, waiters and waitresses walking around with an assortment of appetizers and stuff. And I walked in with Kirk of Mavs Moneyball. And
they
both
let
he
him
and I...
in?
Yeah, and he and I are just like laughing. We're just like, we do not belong here, even a little bit. And anyway, so that was we're standing there, and every single media person I talked to, and there was a lot there. Like,
was surprised that you were let in.
That, and then I was, they were double surprised when I wanted to talk to everybody about Max Christie.
Yeah.
Like everybody is just saying like how much fun they're having, how great, how's the family doing, and I'm like, can we talk about Max?
They're like, can we talk about my real son?
Yeah. People are asking like, don't you have an actual one? It's like, yeah, but he's not doing that stuff.
He's not
like,
that interesting. Max Christie. Like, have you seen the length and, the ability to take guys off the dribble? Like,
Miles might actually outweigh Max Christie right now, but
is
like,
possible. Yeah.
But he does not have that nice a jumper. He does not put the clamps on people, although he does like lie on top of Avery, and Avery can't move.
Yeah, that's like
big.
6 months from being a danger to Avery.
He's so big. But yeah, every person that I talked to this weekend, at some point I mentioned Max Christie. At some point in that conversation, I was talking like, it did not matter if it was media people, if it was team personnel, if it was a bartender, if it was an Uber driver. I was talking to everybody about Max Christie. I am so in on this guy. And look, I'm always the person who tells people pump the brakes. It's just summer league. You never know. But the thing about his performance in Sacramento and now again in Vegas, and dating back to his the little that I think we saw him last year in summer league too. But over the course of...
Did he play last year? If he played, it was only really briefly.
Yeah, but then we saw him playing like real basketball. We saw him in the regular season.
Yeah.
And every time he was out there, he looked like he belonged, Like he was never... There were occasions where, because he was a twig of a rookie, he would get kind of bounced off of the spot. And there were some times where like you could just kind of tell that he still has some development and some growth that he needs if he's going to make this work or whatever. But I never like watched him and said, yeah, this guy is not like... I watched Kendrick Nunn, and a lot of times I was like, this is not an NBA player.
Christie, again, this is just lending itself to the idea of letting him drive your car. Like he just looked like he knew what he was doing out there. He wasn't making rookie mistakes all the time.
And then when I watched him here in this thing, and yeah, like it needs to be mentioned, he's a second-year player, and and he's gone a full season and now part of an off season where he has had NBA weight training to go through as well. So that's going to impact it. So like second-year players do have to be like noticeably better than rookies in order to like really believe in what they might be able to do. But in this case, like freaking every time he was on the court, he was the best player out there. Like it was just he was, if he wasn't the best, he was like right there with the best of them. And my favorite example of it was the Charlotte game where he gets the assignment of guarding Brandon Miller, right? Mm-hmm. And I thought played really well on him. I thought he bugged him quite a bit. And you can really kind of tell how a player feels about like whoever is guarding him by the response to that player going to the bench. So Christie subs out, and immediately Miller looks to score. Yeah, and I'm like, yeah, this guy's getting his buckets when he isn't guarded by Christie. And it was just, I was so effing impressed on both sides of the ball. He's long. He's confident. That jumper is smooth as shit. He was trying out new stuff. Like one thing that you notice, and this was, I met a lot of the Lakers Nation guys on my way out of the gym one day. And I was talking to Trevor, and he and I were both like on the same wavelength. Like this guy is really effing good. And I mentioned it there that he had a shot. Normally when he goes into his pull-up jumpers, he slows down just a little bit, and he doesn't get full elevation. I don't think he quite trusts himself for that. But he did unleash like a shot where he dribbled to his right, and he exploded off of the floor. It was in quicker rhythm and stuff like that. He missed it, but like he took that shot, and I was like, oh my God. It was a high release. He was a good, like, I would say 25, 30 inches off of the ground. Nobody, like his defender had no chance whatsoever of blocking it. Defender just had to hope he missed. And you combine that with the decisions that he makes on the ball a lot of times, and then the stuff that he does on and off the ball on defense. And yeah, I really think like, and I tweeted this and I got a lot of shit for apparently being too high on somebody. I can't be too. I get shit for being too low on stuff, and I get shit for being too high on stuff. Apologies, I guess. But I said that, like, I think over the course of the season, one of those kind of like popular cult takes is going to be, and that's what I meant to say. But I think there's going to be a push, is what I actually said, for this guy to start. Meaning that, like,
I thought you were going to say win Rookie of the Year over Wemby. I was going to say, I mean, he's not eligible because he played a little bit last season, but right. I like where you're going. I don't think
Wemby's winning Rookie of the Year. That's my hot take. I think it's either
I think he will.
I think it's either Scoot or Chet. I don't think the Spurs are going to play Wemby enough. But yeah, I think, you know, I watched this guy play, and it's just, you know, there's a lot of the jokes about like Kobe's illegitimate son and stuff like that. But I am all the way in, and I do think like over the course of the season, because he plays a position of need, the Lakers don't have somebody his size, his athletic ability, his quickness at the 2 spot to guard better 2s. And I really think like over the course of the season, we're going to hear some, like, you're going to, one of those cult takes that I'm going to get a lot of my mentions of is like, are we sure this guy shouldn't be starting? Are we sure?
I think you're going to unleash it. I think this
it would be
ballooning it.
Yeah, it would be very much me, right? To say like one of the takes that I think we're going to see, and then like actually unleash the take. Yeah.
We're going to play this clip with just like a picture of your tweet in like 3 months.
Do you think like did he pop in the same way to you? Because like, I don't know, after you mention it to the 73rd person in a row, you start to really notice their response to stuff. And I felt like a lot of people were really kind of humoring me when I'd be like, this Max Christie guy, and like everybody's like, yeah, he's pretty good. He might be pretty good.
Well, you gotta understand, they hear, given the outside Laker media, Laker blogger contingent, whatever, they hear every single year about a promising, you know, young Lakers player that's playing well in summer league, and so I think there's like some of that is due to the scouts finding a lot of genuinely promising young players at Lakers
there
summer league.
There have been some really talented young players.
Yeah, but you know, I think for general media, that's going to be, you know, every fan of a team gets excited about their players. I mean, maybe they're just not familiar enough with your takes to know that you hate every young player and every, you know, Laker decision. But you know, what I sort of wanted to ask you, I mean, yeah, he definitely popped to answer your question. He looked really good. You know, probably not as good as in the gym, because I feel like that stuff, especially his skill set with like the length and sort of the ability to take angles and get shots off, that stuff always looks more impressive in the gym than it does on the TV screen, because you can see it so much better and so much clearer, and you know, you can watch the whole play developing. But what I was going to ask you is, you know, I guess I probably know the answer to this given that you're already ready to start him, is you know, do you feel better about the Lakers offseason now? Because I know, you know, when we talked just last week, there are clips of you on these airwaves being, you know, a little down on their rotation, being like, yeah, but you're really going to count on Christie, and you're going to count on whatever. You're ready to count on Christie, I take it.
Well, all right. We've already cited Darius once, so I guess I'll do it again. Yes and no, right? Like, because, all right, yes, I am all the way in on this like really, really talented, promising young player. But he can be talented and promising, and he might not be on the timeline that the Lakers need him to be on this year. And it does make me nervous. Like, what I said about him being the only player with his kind of skill set defensively on the team, that is true. And that is terrifying, because they're in a division with Steph, and they're in a division with Devin Booker and Bradley Beal now on the same team. They, you know, are going to be playing in you know, if they're in the Western Conference Finals again, they're trying to get to the finals. It means they might have to face off against Denver again, and they're a big team where his length is going to be important. So, yeah, like I watching him made me feel a little bit more confident in it. But, you know, when you look at what the Lakers are thinking about doing, and this is where I guess it's a good time to bring up Castleton too. When you look at what the Lakers are considering doing here, where Christie is going to be the only person with that athletic skill set at his position, Castleton might be relied on like in very real ways. Over the weekend, one of the things that was not a very well kept secret was the Lakers are looking to convert him at some point. So either it'll be right at the beginning of the season, Or it'll be like he'll be the last person that they add to the roster, and he'll be like the 15th guy later in the season when they convert him.
I mean, not the second one. The first one is sort of like what happened with Austin, where they brought him in as a two-way player, and then like by camp, they're like, he apparently played so well at the players only mini camp that they're like, all right, just give this guy a roster spot. Like, we're gonna use him for more than the two-way limit.
Well, because like even if he's on a two-way, another team can offer to convert him. And now like the Lakers would have to let him out of the contract and let him go do the thing, which like all teams typically do, right? Because you don't want to like screw over a player there. And have like in Austin
generally not. No, that's for G League call-ups. Teams can call up anyone they want from other G League teams, but not two-way guys.
Right. Well, so you can I think while a player is on a two-way, I
guess you can just release them and another team can sign them. But
right, that's what I mean. Is that like if
specifically
right? Well, sure, but like that's because normally if a player is good enough to get a to be converted by another team, the team that he's on typically just converts him. But yeah, so the reason that this was a topic of conversation was because like I was talking to Keith Smith, right, who does the front office show. Nice meeting him. But like I mentioned that the Lakers are a little nervous that some team would, have interest and put the pressure on them to convert him or to just like let him be a full-time pro over there. And it was the same kind of sentiment that they felt about Austin Reeves coming out of that camp was like, it got out there that like, wow, Austin really wowed some people in that camp. And there was a little nervousness there. And it's funny that we're bringing up Austin here too, because those guys share an agent, right?
Yeah, who's now the second most powerful Laker agent behind Rich Paul.
Yeah, and it's close.
Yeah.
And so like with this though, like if like let's say some team does like try to back channel and offer Castleton the opportunity to be a full-time pro in their organization, and the Lakers decide like, no, actually, we're going to keep you on your two-way here. Sorry. That makes it that much more difficult with an agent of a cornerstone piece of your franchise in Austin Reeves. And like, yeah, I don't know how that would necessarily go over. So like, anyway, all of this is to say that at some point this season, Castleton is going to be a full-time Laker, whether that is at the very beginning of it or at the end of the season there when he's like the 15th guy at it.
They've used up all his two-way eligibility.
Yeah,
that
50
would be
days,
my guess of how it goes if he does end up being the full-time member of the roster.
Yeah, and so
because if there's one thing that it was different with Austin when the team wasn't necessarily up against the repeater tax and all of those other kind of payroll concerns they're dealing with this year. I think this year, I think they're going to use up what's the two-way limit again? It's like, what is it, 50 games now, or
yeah,
they're going to use up all those two-way games is my prediction before they convert him to a regular roster spot.
Yeah, at that like prorated amount that at that point might like the proration might really matter.
Be a little less on the old tax bill, and to be honest, if you're not Colin Castleton or his agent, who should care very much about that, I don't think the Lakers are necessarily doing anything quote unquote wrong there. I mean that is the purpose of the two-way slot. We saw the Warriors do it last year with their guys, where they were regular members of the rotation, but it came down to like the last day of the regular season before they were converted, basically.
Yeah. So, but like, all right. So the reason I brought up Castleton was, all right. So you're going to be relying on Max Christie to be unique at his position on this roster. And then behind Anthony Davis, who is not exactly like Mr. Reliable physically, you're going to have Jackson Hayes is going to be his primary backup. Or maybe, like, I know the Lakers have offers out to Christian Wood and to Bismack Biyombo. And apparently they had an offer out to Saric, but obviously Saric went and joined Golden State. So the Lakers are looking to bring in another center there as everybody watches all this play out. I know Wood's agent is like adamant that he isn't a veteran minimum player, but sometimes the league just tells you some unfortunate shit.
Yeah, sometimes sometimes the free market decides that you are.
Yeah, and so whether you have a preference to Biombo or to Wood is that's a separate conversation or whatever. And I think if they don't get either of those guys, maybe they again kick the tires on Tristan Thompson. But like again, if it isn't Biombo or Wood, both of whom played like real NBA minutes last year, and if it isn't those guys, then you're really relying on Jackson Hayes, who New Orleans told, they use like
one of two Lakers this year that their last team was like, the 7-ish million or whatever qualifying offer. Yeah, we're good. Good luck.
Yeah. So and then behind Jackson Hayes,
take that.
Yeah, and then behind Jackson Hayes is Castleton, who wasn't your typical undrafted free agent. It's a pretty similar situation.
He could have been a second rounder. Yeah.
Yeah, like his agency told teams, please don't draft us. We would like to pick our own destination again. And
it's hard to argue with the results of that strategy the first time. So
yeah, well, I really think we're going to see it. That's going to be a very. It's always been around that approach or whatever, but I think
if Castleton turns into a real NBA player, the Lakers are just going to have to hire Aaron Riley, their agent, or whoever's doing the scouting for them. I don't know if it's specifically him or if they do it as a group.
They're a nerd team.
AMR. They're going to have to just buy that agency and just hire them as scouts. They're like, you are going to find all of our undrafted white boy stars.
Yeah.
It's just.
I just love how upset like Indiana and Utah and Boston have to be that the Lakers found this specific market inefficiency, which I think is an interesting one, by the way. At some point, I'm in kind of talks to have Colin on the show at some point, and that's something I really want to run by him. Is like this notion.
Okay, now he's not making the roster because you just said he was coming on the show, so he's about to die. Like it's this is.
Maybe we'll see.
No, you gotta denounce it right now. Say you were not having him on the show, Anthony. The Lakers have several more summer league games to get through.
I take it back.
No, you're not considering having him on the show.
I'm not. I take it back. That was a really bad joke, poorly timed joke. I'm just thinking about having.
Game tomorrow, he's like, I can't see my migraine. Oh. Playing in sunglasses and everybody's
I'm thinking about having.
No, he got the Anthony Irwin podcast migraine. Sorry,
It would be funny if he's not able to overcome this thing that Sabrina has overcome twice.
Yeah,
but I'm thinking. I'm thinking about having a different NBA center who could also pass as a Twilight character. Like it's a different player that I'm thinking about having on the team.
He really could. Oh,
it's crazy, man. He's Team Edward all the way.
Yeah.
But so I think all of that stuff can be true though, right? Like, I can still have some concerns about this roster and the way that it's kind of come together. And if those concerns get addressed, right? If Christie is legit, cool. Then that specific hole that I was worried about is less concerning. If the Lakers go get Wood or Biombo and Hayes is the third big, and then Castleton is eventually that like luxury big that you maybe add at the very end of the year, okay. Or if they like eventually release Hayes so that Castleton steps up and is your third big there, like however that plays out is also a possibility. One thing I was just kind of like canvassing and like soft like canary in the coal mining while I was there was like, did you ever like after you saw Castleton play the once and after you like watched Pelicans fans' reaction to Hayes no longer being a Pelican, did you consider bringing that offer sheet back across the table? They did not. Is what I'm told. But
oh wow, no way.
But it was
they didn't rescind a minimum offer to a free agent, like with an extremely powerful NBA agency. Oh man, that's wild.
Yeah. So
something tells me if the Blazers didn't rescind the Jeremy Grant offer, the Lakers, even if they had some doubts, wouldn't have.
Yeah, I heard more about. I mean, for good reason, right? It's a lot more money, but I heard a lot more like, yeah, we were surprised that they kept their offer sheet on the table the way that they did, but anyway, so yeah, it was. I still have some questions about the offseason, and I don't think I will ever be fully on board with a team ducking the luxury tax the year after they get to the Western Conference Finals. But like as it pertains to this one specific hole, I think Max is ready, man. I think he's really effing good. And him being like the fourth guard, that, whoever doesn't start between Gabe Vincent and D'Angelo Russell is going to be like the first guard off of the bench, obviously. And then Christie will get the minutes whenever whenever Reeves sits. I would imagine Christie's going to come in next to either Russell or Vincent. And I think he'll continue to look really comfortable right there. And I think he's like so good that I would be pretty surprised if his role doesn't expand over the course of the year. And yeah, I'm all the way in, man. He's so effing impressive. One thing that you can do when you're in the gym better than you can when you're watching on TV is really focus on him when he doesn't have the ball, or when
That's
he isn't guarding the ball.
Games. It's just a lot easier to specifically one player watch.
And like it's so impressive watching him work off of the ball on both sides of the court. He never just loafs. He's always working on doing something, and he's always in like the weight. Like one of the things that and I don't mean to take a drive by here with AD. But one of the things that like AD
But I'm going to coming up in the second half of this sentence.
But like one of the things that kind of annoys me with AD sometimes is like if he isn't on the ball, he stands straight up quite a bit, and he just kind of like walks around out there. And I get it again because he has to do so much defensively that you have to save your energy some way. But like Max is never saving that energy, and again, it makes sense. He's 20 years old. He hasn't played as much.
He
in
has
the league.
More energy, I would imagine.
Yeah, right. But like it's so impressive to watch him every second he's on the court. He is ready to do something. And yeah, I'm all the way in on this guy. Again, I'm biased
teach
here.
AD how to win. I think that is goal number one. But
at the very least, Dwight.
I did laugh. He had an amazing, unintentionally hilarious quote to Dan Wojcicki, our friend Dan Wojcicki of the LA Times, your favorite Laker beat writer over Jovan. And all other Laker.
Although that goes back and forth because Wojcicki apparently immediately told Jovan I'm his favorite beat reporter.
Oh so yeah, okay, never mind. Yeah,
it is in dispute.
Our least favorite Laker beat writer, Dan Wojcicki, got a quote from Max Christie, enemy of the show, Dan Wojcicki, where Max was talking about I'm willing to do whatever it takes for this team. I don't have the exact quote in front of me, so I'm going to butcher this, but he's like, I'm willing to do whatever the team needs me to do. Offense, defense, leadership, like all this stuff. And it's like, Max, I'm going to go ahead and guess that last one is probably not something that they're going to be relying on you for a whole lot this year. But I respect the confidence,
He might actually be one
Max
of the Lakers.
Christie, is he saying LeBron is a bad leader and the Lakers have a void at the top of the roster? It's his team now.
It's so perfect that somebody looks as much like Kobe would say something like that, though, too, right?
Well, it's just the bottom half of the face. Like you saw the famous TikTok where, when you just see the bottom half of the face, it's, the jawline's the same.
No, I'm telling you, if he like ever removes the mop from the top of his head,
he needs a Batman mask to play in. He's got to go masked Mamba,
But yeah, I'm so in on this kid. And like another example. So Josiah hosted this really cool little thing. It was like a little art show out there in Vegas, and there's an open bar in the back of it. And again, people that like I can't believe I'm like rubbing shoulders with are in there and stuff. And the whole time I'm in there, I'm talking to people about Max Christie. It's just like incredible art. Former and current players are walking around, and I'm just like, does anybody want to talk about my boy?
Everybody's like, the angles of this one, you can really see the expressionism in the art, and you're like, it reminds me of how Max Christie sort of finagles his way to the basket.
Hey, speaking of art, have you seen his release? Like, it's just.
You get home and Jen's like giving you update on your children and what they were up to the last couple days, and you're like, yeah, but babe, did you see what Max Christie did the last
Yeah.
couple days in Summer League?
No, I got home and immediately told Jen, like, we're having another kid, so I can name him Max. Like, it's just...
Well, so update on that. I mean, I don't know if you know this because you don't really do research or, work all that hard at your job, but do you know what Max Christie's real name is?
Oh, man, I saw it over the weekend.
It's Cormac. Cormac Christie can absolutely drive my car. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's, again...
Totally. I think
also, he really should go by Cormac. He loses some like NBA star points by going by Max. That's too common of it. He's got to go by Cormac.
I think that was a name from a character in Harry Potter, right? Like, wasn't that the really annoying Quidditch player that like was into Hermione for a bit? Cormac.
Talking of Cormac
McLagan?
McCarthy, but yeah, I guess.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Parents
Cormac.
are big fans of the road, I guess.
Yeah. But yeah,
I'm telling you, Cormac Christie is making an all-star game.
No,
especially in like if Cormac,
that's a terrible name.
Cormac Christie played in the 1970s, that's like a 9-time all-star.
He's a top 75 player for sure.
Cormac Christie is on the top 75 list somewhere. That's his grandpa. He played when they still shot underhanded, like during one of the World Wars.
Yeah, during one of the World Wars. And all of the games, like all of the announcers, like, and Cormac Christie comes up the floor, like, and he hands the ball off to another white guy.
He made the right. You're right. This is bad vibes. He made the right decision to go by Max. Again, another good decision by Max Christie.
Yeah, it's just good decisions all over the place. All right. I think that's about all that I have. All I wanted to do, you asked me what I wanted to talk about today, and I said Max Christie.
Yeah, I'm genuinely surprised how long we were able to go on Max Christie. I thought this was going to be a 10-minute discussion. We were going to have to like kind of scramble on the fly to come up with stuff for the back half of the show. But no, you were right. You really wanted to talk about Max Christie. I did. Before we wrapped up, I just wanted to ask you, because I did not get to go to Vegas this year, and you did. And, one of the best parts of Vegas is kind of seeing the behind the scenes, the weirdness of, just an NBA convention for the most diehards of the diehard, and just seeing everyone out there and all the weird run it. Do you have a good Las Vegas Summer League story? Was there any extreme any random NBA player on the playing poker sightings, anything like that? You can keep names anonymous if you have to. What's the dumbest thing you saw a media member do behind the scenes?
It was just me asking everybody about Max Christie.
Yeah.
All right. So I have a few stories. One, I arrived at the airport and saw Derek Favors getting his own bags, and it made me a little sad because like normally like NBA players have people to take care of that for him, but I don't think he's an NBA player anymore.
Yeah, I mean, you'd think someone would do him a favor and help him out, but I guess he's out of favors.
Boy, he made those bags look small though. Wow. He's just monster.
Was he one of the guys doing one of the kind of always depressing keep my career alive workouts at the insiders were tweeting about?
No, I think that was Harry Giles.
I know Harry Giles did one, but yeah, there were a weird amount of them this year. I don't know if it was like I just noticed it more than usual, but there was a lot of this is the last step before my career is over. Please come watch me work out while you're all out here anyway.
The other thing that happened, so at that party Sunday night, I was talking to Anthony Slater of The Athletic. First time I met him, really nice to meet him. Seems like a cool dude. And up pops this tiny little guy who has immaculate hair.
Pete was there?
No. This tiny little skinny guy with like perfect hair. And he turns around and it's Shams. I'm telling you, when I say pops up, he was not there, and then he was there.
That's how he talks. He's able to apparate. He just
I'm telling you,
yeah.
It was the crazy. It was vampire-esque. I'm telling, like he was just like off.
I gotta say, I fear for that man's eyes. I saw he did that Instagram of his screen time report, and it was like 19 hours a day, and the most horrifying thing was during free. He's like, "Oh man, this was what I used my phone." The most horrifying thing was they're like, "This is 10% more than your normal usage."
Yeah, I hope he has like those blue.
Yeah, he needs
lens.
some blue light. I hope Shams has a good pair of the blue light.
So
things.
Yeah, so he pops up and he's talking to, because he never stops working, like as he says, right? He pops up and he has this conversation with Anthony about, whatever it was. They're having it in hushed voices. He's like, and I'm like trying to lean in because, who knows what they could be talking about. He might be breaking the story that I got.
This is where Anthony gets his league sources from. Is he just he eavesdrops on Sham's conversation?
And I'm nowhere near as smooth entering or exiting stuff as Shams is. So that's why I don't get very many league source stories.
Yeah.
But so he leaves and he on his way out, he kind of bumps me and says like, sorry for cutting in. And I'm like, I didn't even know it was happening when it was happening. So see you, bud. And so he takes off. And as he's leaving, I go to Anthony. I'm like, that was crazy. He can just appear. And he goes, that's Shams, man. Absolutely serious. He's just yeah, sometimes he's just places and you just have no idea how he got there, how he left. He's there and then he's not. It's just crazy. So that was a funny one. But the best moment, I tweeted about this, the best moment of my Vegas trip, well, the funniest that I can say on the air, was walking to breakfast I think it was Saturday morning, because I flew in late Friday night. And I'm walking to breakfast and essentially my hotel was on one side of the resort, and you have to walk across the lobby basically to get to where some of their food is. And so I'm walking across the lobby and I get a Woj notification. I look down at what it is, and it's about Paul Reed, right? Paul Reed gets the offer that he got from, I think, Utah, right? and so so I see that, and I had just a second ago noticed that there was somebody there, clearly from the Sixers. He is in a Sixers hat.
No, you can always tell who the team employees are because they are actually wearing the stuff that you see Austin Reeves walk in. Before pre-contract, I assume.
And it's new.
Drip King now. But it's always brand new team issue sweatsuits or team issue polos or whatever.
Yeah, and they have their credential on, and then when they don't even need to have it on, and then they have their hat and stuff, and so I saw it was just one of those moments. So you just happen to look at somebody, and then I got the notification from Woj, and it's Paul Reed has is going to sign an offer with the Utah Jazz. And I just kind of laughed because our friends who cover the Sixers, right, have been begging for Paul Reed to play more. And now that they might lose him for nothing, I just kind of chuckled about it. And then what really made me guffaw was this guy. You can tell he gets the notification. He just goes from, and I can hear him from clear across the lobby. I'm just as if he was standing next to me. You see him get it, and he goes, fuck! And he slams shut his laptop, doesn't even order an Uber, runs out, gets cuts in line from everybody and goes, I need a cab. And he hauls off into the heat of the Las Vegas summer. And it was just so amazing to see that. And every time that we got some new update on that story, I just kept on thinking about that poor bastard.
I'm picturing Adam Sandler from Hustle, and he's just this is Hustle 2, where they're trying to just keep B-Ball Paul, his late undrafted second round whatever find. And he's just run into an Uber. Yeah.
He was that was hilarious. There's a whole bunch of funny stuff that takes place.
I hope Daryl Morey's okay.
I hope Kyle actually tried to find out who that was, because it was clearly
I'm frankly disappointed in Kyle Neubeck for not getting us the scoop on who this anonymous scout / GM / exec was in the hotel bar, just yelling "fuck" at the Paul Reed offer sheet.
All right. I guess another funny one was this wasn't actually Ime Udoka, but it was this guy in a Udoka Spurs jersey who was hitting on an escort at the bar.
That's a summer league jersey.
Yeah, but he kind of looked a little bit like him too. And
was it him? Was he just doing the going incognito thing of wearing your own jersey and nobody will suspect it's you?
He was clearly there for the sole purpose of finding a woman of the night. It was just It was just so on brand
Not
for
wouldn't
somebody
be
who
the first
merely
time
looks
we've
like him.
witnessed that at an NBA media event in Vegas. You know, it's just these things
Oh my
happen.
God! All right, there was. I don't think she was a woman of the night, but there was this one.
I don't think that that's the preferred term, Anthony. I'm gonna say.
Uh, what do we escort? Like, what are we supposed to say?
Yeah, I think escort.
All right. So
Travel enthusiast.
But so we were. It was one of the nights. I think this was a Saturday night, and Dave, like I was standing there. I was sitting there at the bar, kind of waiting for people to kind of cycle back in. And
all the people that were working at Summer League and had to therefore, work.
It was like weird. It was like people would come in waves. But so, but I had just finished hanging out with somebody else, and we had said our goodbyes. So I was there, and I had texted people like, "Hey, what are you guys up to?" And they're like, "Well, probably coming back." And I just figured like, well, if you guys are on your way back already, I'll just like hang out here for a little bit. And so I'm there at the bar, and eventually, like, our friend Dave Dufour walks in, and then some other people who do some other stuff, and we're having this conversation about various stuff. Andrew Wiggins winds up coming up, and when Andrew Wiggins comes up, there was this woman who was at the bar, who was apparently an Andrew Wiggins enthusiast.
Oh,
No, I'm telling you. She was crazy. Like, she would start crying if somebody would like criticize Wiggins, and she was like constantly trying to like. She was pulling us towards her to talk to her about Andrew Wiggins. Super
was it
awkward.
His mom?
It was. I don't think so, but it was just. It was so wild to have like our entire conversation completely interrupted by this woman who was just like clearly in like just inebriated out of her mind and adamant that Andrew Wiggins is still a superstar in this league. He just needs the right role, which like we found out that actually he's fine, perfectly great.
No, none of those things are true. He has the right role and he's not a superstar. Yeah, I think.
So it was just, but that's the kind of thing that only happens in Vegas, and hopefully next year you get to get out there too.
Yeah,
I even talked to Pete, and he's thinking about going out there. That was a surprise. That was a real surprise that Pete is thinking about going. But yeah.
Well, if the film room's going to be there, then I'll try and catch on to that.
Yeah.
Maybe he can get me on the team plane. You got a +1 into the NBA media party. Like maybe he can get me in there.
I think you would get in.
They're like, oh, this is your he's like, no, this is our latest. This is the latest, AMR client. He's a two-way guy. He looks a little old.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah. Vegas was fun. Apologies again that I wasn't able to produce more content while I was out there. I did have my mic and I sound checked it, and it would have sounded bad. It was really echoey, and you had just constant bass dropping in the background and beats dropping.
Might have been a DMCA violation, to be honest.
It was so clear.
You got your first pod taken down for having entire songs in it.
I was like, so because you don't get much sleep out there. I think I got like 10 hours combined from the entirety of the weekend that I was there. And at one point, like it was like 5:00, and I had a bit of a break in between a dinner and when we were supposed to go to this party. And so like I went upstairs like with the sole purpose of closing the blackout curtains and letting my head hit a pillow and falling into a coma for a little bit. But no, I couldn't, because it was just it was just so maddening. Just absolutely.
Man, so you were like an entire hotel away from the food, and you were right next to the DJ table. You definitely got like the cheapest room in the entire hotel, I think, is what we learned.
I don't think I paid extra for it. It had like the strip view and everything.
Surround sound.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's just it is what it is. But had a good time though. I'm happy to be home, and I'm happy to announce that my wife and I are expecting our third child, Maximus
Max Irwin. Cormac Max Christie Irwin.
All right, dude. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. Thank you, Harrison, for hopping on short notice. we are going to be filling out the rest of this week as I play catch up now that I'm back here. And yeah, hopefully Harrison's mic sounded better tonight. I hope it worked out better than the last time when he just. It's the weirdest thing that you like put a sock over your.
It's your
mic.
job to sound check us. It is your job. This is not my job. I just show up and record.
I've heard of people putting like, filters and stuff on it, but I find it really weird that you would put a woolen sock over your mic. It's an interesting choice.
It's a condenser. I just hope Colin Castleton's okay. After what you did to him this podcast,
he's a vampire,
I just hope
dude.
He's all right.
As long as he doesn't get stabbed by like a wooden stake, I think we're good.
I mean, strange things happen in Vegas. They're like, we can't find Colin. All there is this pile of dust and a cross in his room. It's just weird. Yeah. I don't know what happened.
As long as he doesn't insult Andrew Wiggins in front of that lady, I think we're safe.
Vampire Hunter and Andrew Wiggins stand.